So if you haven't noticed yet, patch 3.16 is going to be Scourge League. We have seen that we're getting some weird blood artifact that's going to give us the blood suck and hopefully not just give us some kind of blood curse or something like that, and hopefully we get some powers or something good. And also we've seen this nice little fusing orb, which I am going to call Crangled for now. We'll see what the actual name of it is. By the way, GGG, if it's not Crangled, I'm going to be actually upset. And that's about all that we really know so far. So I wanted to make a video talking about what I really feel that we need from patch 3.16. And most of that is just going to be Path of Exile doing what they said that they were going to do. Now, a while back over on Twitter, which I'm not sure if most of you even know that I have, but you should follow me at @big_ducks, linked in the description, I responded to one of Path of Exile's comments, and they responded with, "Words are nothing without follow through, hold us to it." So GGG, this is going to be me holding you to it. Now, if you're new to the channel or you're part of the large percentage of people who have not subscribed, make sure to do that so that these videos will show up right up in your feed. Make sure to like the video if you're enjoying the content. Path of Exile made a pretty big claim that they were going to stick to all of the things that they said. Now, I do have a short list that I want to go over of things that they were talking about that they wanted to do, and the ones that I felt were the most important and that I hope that we get soon, and I really hope that they're in patch 3.16, because 3.15, when they originally did the announcement stream for it, really did not go over well. They spent about half of the stream saying, don't worry, we're burning everything to the ground, but it's going to be okay for the future. Well, we're in the future now, so I'm really hoping that what they said before is true, but we'll have to see. So the big things that I personally want to see, the first one is going to be defensive changes. Now, there have been a bunch of people that have talked about this. Defensives in Path of Exile are in a very poor spot, in my opinion. I think one of the biggest problems right now is that defensives are so expensive to invest into that it is just better for any softcore player to simply just go full offense instead of doing any defenses whatsoever. The only defenses that are worthwhile right now are the ones that make you completely avoid damage. I'm talking about like block and dodge. Those are the two. Without those, you might as well just go more damage because you're going to die anyways. And the thing about it is dodge is super easy to invest into. You run a couple points on the tree, you get like a quartz flask, and maybe if you're in Ascendancy that can get elusive, or you get elusive on boots or from the passive tree or something like that, and you're good with dodge. I mean, that's a huge defensive bonus. And on top of that, you can get Wind Dancer plus Kintsugi if you want to run it, and then you just take no damage when you actually get hit. Dodge is ridiculous, it costs almost nothing. And I really hope that dodge doesn't get nerfed, because I feel like there should be more defensive layers similar to dodge. The other one that I talked about was block. Block is way harder to invest into, similarly if not more powerful, but way harder to invest into. There are characters that can easily get like 77 block and spell block relatively like straightforward, but it's so much investment to be able to get there. The amount of like passive skills, ascendancy points, like gear that you have to spend to be able to get all that block is a lot more than what you have to for dodge. Besides that, I mean, there's like the mana defensive layers, which are essentially like just effective health pool. There's life. There is things like evasion, armor, which armor is trash unless you do like armor stacking. And I mean, energy shield, like there's no other real defensive layers that are worthwhile. Now, what they said in the interviews with Chris Wilson is that they are looking at defensive layers as a whole. I really hope that we get more defensive layers similar to block, similar to dodge, because you might have noticed I haven't talked about Fortify yet. Fortify is getting changed. They said it was being nerfed, but then he was unwilling to say anything about it going forward. So that makes me think that that's maybe up in the air. Hopefully Fortify becomes like a actual really solid melee defensive layer that can rival like block and dodge, who knows? But I think that like the top left of the tree or the top portion of the tree really needs some kind of extra love. I think it could be something like Ward, but we need support for that. There needs to be something new, and it needs to be easier to invest into defensive layers instead of just being like, well, I guess I'll just do 800 bajillion damage and one-shot the entire screen so that they don't one-shot me, because that's the current state. And the next thing I'd like to see is I'd like them to finally put the nail in the coffin on Orobots, get rid of them, somehow make them significantly less powerful so that we can open up more design space for like characters to be stronger on their own, or like group play in some manner. Because right now there are just groups of people at the beginning of every league that just completely trivialize literally everything in the game by just making one or two characters that have all of the curses and all of the auras, and they just completely trivialize everything for everyone else, right, in their party. Completely ridiculous. It makes no sense. It's not a fun way to play the game. I don't know if you've ever tried to play like an aura bot or a curse bot. It's really super boring. So I hope that they figure out something for that. I don't know what the answer is here. I'm not a game designer, and I don't have any good answers off the top of my head. I just really hope we get something meaningful that changes it without killing other builds. The thing that I worry about is like, what if they make a change where builds like the Petrified Blood low-life builds that use a bunch of auras, what if they get like hit like, you know, with like collateral damage? I'd be pretty upset if something like that happened. So I don't know how they're gonna do it, but I'd really like them to figure out a way to go about it. Like maybe a keystone that has to do with like your auras not working for other people, something like that. I don't know. We need something though. Because right now the situation with aura bots, and I mean like the support aura bots, not aura stackers. I think aura stackers are whatever. They've been nerfed enough at the top end that I don't really think it matters that much. Let people who want to spend 800 bajillion exalts on their build be able to play their build, because they actually can do the damage. It's not like you're taking some random build with no damage and just making them a god by adding them in, right? The next thing I want to see is I just want skills in the game to have identity. I don't like it that there are so many skills that just have no identity. We add in new skills every single patch, and I know that they have to, because there are people who are just, they only come back to the patch to look at the new skills and that's it. I understand that, but I really was like taken aback when they decided that they were going to make 19 new gems for this last patch. I mean, is anybody surprised that most of them were terrible? We got a handful that were okay, and we got some that were so bad that they literally buffed them by 400%, and they're still trash. And then there's a bunch of other skills that still don't work to this day. Like Defiance Banner. Defiance Banner is worse defensively than some of the other offensive banners. It's pretty much pointless. I would so much more like it if you gave us a couple skills that actually seem like they were invested into, like time was spent making sure that they're good, and then go back and do something with everything else that we have, right? The way that I look at it is that I feel like skills should at least have something going for them, right? They can be something that's just a leveling skill. They can be something that's just a bossing skill, just a clearing skill in later game. They can have skills that are literally just meant to be a meme. Like Molten Strike is literally just surviving off of the fact that people are like, haha, better nerf Molten Strike. That's fine. It's got an identity. But what about skills like, I don't know, like Charge Dash? It's like sitting in the graveyard of skills and no one plays it. Like there's so many skills that are just completely worthless right now. Go look at some of them, do something to them. Buff up the numbers a little bit more, because this latest patch left a lot of skills in the dirt. You can't level with them, they're not good in endgame, they have no purpose, and I'd really like to see just some love for some old abilities that aren't doing too well. And while you're at it, fix all the new skills that you put in last patch that just straight up don't work right now. I would really like this, but I don't know that it's going to be coming this soon. I would really like to see some of that aspirational content that you talked about before, where you were saying like, you know, Uber versions of different bosses and endgame stuff and all that kind of thing. I'd really like to see some of that. That would be super, super nice to get just some of it early on, even if it's just a higher eye level one with some cool items or something, just something, okay? I would like some more aspirational content to go for, because while there is a decent amount in Path of Exile, I feel that we need more things to do at the very top end, right? It's all kind of getting stale, and just breathing in a little bit of fresh air to the, you know, like giving us Uber versions of different bosses and such, or maybe even some more Maven invitations. Maybe just mix up some more stuff. I don't know what you gotta do, but something like that, right? More aspirational content, more things like leaderboards for different stuff like Delve and things like that. Make it so people can actually be like, oh, I want to be the top on that list, and put it in game. Things like that I think are super important for the game, for those kind of people that want to have that to play. So I really would like to see some of that. And the last thing are the Atlas changes that you talked about. I really hope that the downsized Atlas is just a last like good hurrah for the Atlas that we have right now, because it's going to be changed most likely in 3.17. I would really like it if you just give us all of the nodes for one type of like league content, like say Delirium, put them all in the same place. Let us master that content in one area, right? Make it so that it only shows up in that area, right? If we're gonna have 4 regions, make it so that each of the regions makes sense, like you're going to a different place. Give those regions purpose instead of it just being like, oh yeah, Delirium can show up everywhere. Put Delirium in that corner and keep it there, and make Delirium super powerful when you see it, right? And more agency in the game, more ability to choose the kind of content that I want to do, because honestly, like when I see a Blight encounter in a non-Blight Atlas region, I skip it. I just feel upset that I'm even seeing. I'm just like, I'm not going to do that, because I know how terrible it is compared to the good stuff. Why don't you make it so that instead of us having like mediocre encounters showing up 8% of the time, buff up those numbers a little bit and make them only show up in the areas that they are like the good version of, right? Where you have like watchstones dedicated to it, or the Atlas passive points dedicated to it. I'd really like to see something like that. But that last one is just, you know, kind of wishful thinking. So at this point, GGG, I'm really only asking you to give us the things that you said that you were going to give us. Nothing more, but nothing less. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks. Make sure to like this video if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content similar to this, and stay safe out there in raid class. And I'll see you guys in the next video.